Well, hello. This is Jessica Simpson Taylor, and I am so excited to be here for our first interview for Spotlighting Small Businesses. As you know, a year ago, we started Small Business Diet Plan just to encourage everyone to keep moving. And one of our very first guests, attorney Tristan Simpson, was on our meetup that first day on April 19th, 2020. And I am so glad that she's back with us today and excited to let her be our first guest for our business spotlight. So, welcome, Attorney Simpson.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's good to be back and to see that everything is still going well with the small business diet plan.
Yes, we've definitely kept moving, right? As we talked a lot about during those meetups. So we would love for you to share about your practice with our viewers. So what can you tell us about your law firm?
So we are a small law firm. We are a minority law firm in that it's owned by two women. My law partner, Tracy Newman, has been practicing law for 20 years. I've been practicing law for over 13 years at this point. Um, we specialize in the areas of adoption, family law, all of the things encompassed in family law, including child support, alimony, all of those types of things. We also do bankruptcy and wills, trust, and estates. I am a certified family law mediator and a parenting coordinator. So we have a wide range of things that we do at our firm.
So can you tell us what made you want to be an attorney?
I don't know if there was one specific determining factor that said, hey, you should go be an attorney. My mom tells me that when I was a little girl that I told her that I wanted to be an attorney. I don't recall that conversation. And actually, I recall having a conversation with someone maybe in high school saying that I didn't want to be an attorney because I didn't want to be in a position where I would um, get someone off who was guilty or put someone in prison who was innocent.
Mm.
So I'm not really sure exactly when the shift came. My thought is I worked for a time period at Central Florida Reception Center, and um, I didn't always feel that the inmates were treated as people.
Mm.
Yes, they committed crimes. Yes, there are there's a system in place to punish them for those crimes, but seeing so many men incarcerated in almost a dehumanizing way, not that the facilities were bad, not that the environment in and of itself was the dehumanizing part per se, but how the employees treated the inmates. And I left there and I became a probation officer, um, which had its own like spin of things. And I actually left probation to go to law school. I think I was when I before I went to law school, I got a master's degree in um, criminal justice. And I guess I had some lofty idea that I was going to jump in and reform the system. It's very interesting since I don't practice criminal law at all, never have, and don't necessarily have an interest in it. If I were going to practice criminal law or anything in that arena, it would probably be to work for an innocence project to again get those people who've been wrongly convicted um, out of incarceration. So I think those were things that kind of pushed me in the direction of law. seeing some of the social injustices, for me, directly related to the penal system. But obviously in the world we're living in now, you see all kind of other social justice issues that can also prompt people to want to get their education in the area of law to see what changes they can make in the system.
The main thing that I heard you talk about there, Attorney Simpson, is really treating people with respect just because they're people. And that is definitely one of the fights that is happening all over America and all over the world.
What you were saying about treating people with respect, I think that is first and foremost what we should be doing, not only in attorney relationships, but as people in general. I think that we're very quick to judge people before we really know anything about them. Um, Even doing this interview is kind of stepping outside of my comfort zone to some degree, because I prefer not to, for the most part, which is probably counterintuitive to a revenue stream, but when I meet people, I don't introduce myself and give them a title or tell them I have a degree, because I have an expectation that because I'm a human being that you're going to treat me with a certain amount of respect.
We talked a lot last year about the family dynamic with running a small business. And one of the things I wanted us to talk about in these spotlights is how our business owners are managing just life within their small business and running their small business. Now, I know personally that you are a wife and a mom and a sister and an aunt, and the list goes on and on, active in your church. So how did that look in 2020 for you? Were you still able to balance all of that with all of the emotional and social changes that we had in America?
It 2020 obviously was a very interesting year in both how we dealt with family, friends, and business. Um, I have 3 children, and from middle school to daycare, and you just kind of go with the flow. There have been times where they had to come to my office and sit in the office with me while I did work. There have been times where I had to wait until after they went to bed and do work. Um, they've been back and forth between being in school, as well as being e-learners. I will definitely say when they were e-learners, it was much more difficult to get work done while they were e-learning versus when they're in in-person school.
I can concur to a lot of that. I'm dealing with some of that myself and trying to run a small business. How did you make it through the obstacles that all of that brought about?
Well, for me, I guess the first thing was a lot of prayer, finding a moment to yourself to go and do some stress relief. For me, that may have been reading a book, or that may have been exercising, because just like when you're on an airplane and they tell you when the oxygen masks come down, you have to put yours on first because you need to be in a position to take care of you before you can help anyone else. And so, keeping in mind that you need to do some self-care even before you're able to be the best employee, the best business owner, the best parent, the best wife, whatever it is, that there has to be some time that you take to take care of yourself so that you're in a better position to take care of all the other people and things that you need to address. So that's one of the ways that I address some of the obstacles. The new stressors was that I made sure that I took some time for myself. Now that time may not have been an hour. It may have been 15 minutes here and there, 30 minutes here and there, but whatever you can get done that you're taking care of yourself so that you're in a position to take care of others. That's one thing that I know that I did.
And I hid in the closet sometimes, and I and I sat in the car.
Yes. Yes.
So yes, Very good points. Very good points. And I do think that's really important for small business owners to realize because we are so geared toward making it happen, making it happen, making it happen. Very often we do forget that we are the will in all of that. And if we don't are not properly oiled, then properly maintained, then the whole structure around us falls apart as
Ab-
business owners, as heads of household, or just whatever our roles are. It just happens. Parents, as employees, as you said, sometimes the stresses they begin to cross over to
Right.
other avenues in our lives. So you make some very good points. Those are very encouraging words that you shared with us. 2020 is over. We give a praise for that
Yeah.
one. But now, a lot of people are saying it's a time of recovery. It's a time of recovery. Tell us about 2020 with your firm versus 2021.
So, in the area of law, especially family law, I'm not really sure that our revenues went down per se as far as clientele. As a matter of fact, I think that what was predicted or what we anticipated was that we'd have a lot more clients because if you want to know if a couple is going to make it, quarantine them and they can't get away from each other, you will find out whether or not this marriage is
Right.
going to work or not. However, with bankruptcies, we expected to see a lot more bankruptcies as well because people were losing their jobs because businesses were closed. Businesses couldn't afford to maintain their employees because they didn't have any revenue coming in, and so we really expected to see a lot more bankruptcies. And although we didn't necessarily think that we would see them in 2020, we expected to see them in 2021. And
Hmm.
actually, bankruptcy filings have gone down. Will that change? Will ultimately second, third, fourth quarter we see an increase in bankruptcies? That's still a possibility. But those were some of the things we expected to see just because of the way the economy was going, and that hasn't actually happened. One other impact between 2020 and 2021 would be that around March 15-ish in Brevard County, Florida, the courts shut down. There, that meant that any hearings that were scheduled, any attempts to schedule hearings, if they weren't emergency hearings, there were no hearings being held. So, as far as a family law docket, which is generally backed up already, that meant that those hearings that were canceled during the time period in which the courts were closed, now we're having to squeeze those back in, and the number of family law cases hasn't gone down. People are still trying to get divorced. People are still fighting over uh, who should have primary care of the children. All of those things are still in play, and the court system is kind of backed up in that regard. We are, as far as family law cases in Brevard County, Florida, all of those with very few exception of maybe injunctions or Department of Revenue cases that are held with the hearing officer, all the other family law cases are being done virtually. So that's something else that's very different from how things were handled, at least in the first quarter of 2021, um, which has its good and its bad points as far as conducting a hearing virtually. But I know that those are definitely some things that I've been able to point out differences between 2020 and 2021.
I think wills are sometimes it makes people think about death. And because so many people are uncomfortable with having a conversation within their families about death, we shy away from saying, hey, mom, dad, child, you know, when we pass on, this is how I want it to be.
I think it's important for everyone, but especially in the minority community, for me to point this out because minorities do not get wills. They do not consider what is going to happen to whatever money, property, interest in property, any of those things. That they don't think about what is going to happen to it when I die. Um, how will it go to my children? How will it get passed to my grandchildren? And I encourage you to go and seek legal counsel and get a will prepared. I think that it is so important. There have been a lot of people who passed away unexpectedly due to COVID, and their estates are in shambles, and you have family members fighting family members about what is supposed to happen to it. And a lot of that can be resolved if you take that first step and go and get a will and have that in a secure location where the family can find it should something happen. And then you'll know that there won't be the fighting and the backbiting and all of the things that happen when someone dies. There's some money or some property, and everyone wants it, or wants what they can get from it. That way you can have some peace about what will happen in regards to the familial relationships once you are no longer here. It
So,
also could be years before the estate is settled if the parties are fighting about who gets what and how
right.
much of what.
Mhm. So if I put a will together, I contact an attorney, get my will put together, and in a safe deposit box in the room, is that good enough? Do I need to do anything else with it?
So the rules regulating wills vary from state to state. You know,
Okay.
how you can do a codicil, whether it can be handwritten, which would be considered a holographic will. All of those issues are going to vary from state to state, which
Okay.
is why it would be important to seek out the advice of counsel in the
Mhm.
state in which you reside. Now, if you have a will in New York that is valid in New York and you happen to move to Florida, then there is reciprocity between the states in that state of Florida will recognize the will from New York, even if the laws in New York are a little bit different from
Okay.
Florida. Um, but after you do a will, if things change, update your will.
Mm.
So also keep that in mind as well. And it may
Okay.
not mean rewriting your whole will. It may mean doing a codicil to your will, but just something else to keep in mind. If you did a will 20 years ago, you may need to look at your will again and make sure that it's still relevant.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's good information. Anything else we need to know or make sure we check the box on?
I think that you just need to make sure that when you're looking for an attorney, that you don't have to settle on the first one that you go to. You don't even have to settle on the one that you may have been referred to by a friend. That you want to look at the attorney's experience. You want to look at their experience in the area of law for which you're seeking assistance. And you want to also pay attention to how you feel and how involved the attorney will be, how I hate to use the word vibes, but if you don't get a warm fuzzy when you're talking to the attorney, then maybe that is not the attorney for you. If you go to a firm and you only speak to the paralegal and you never have an opportunity to speak to the attorney, then maybe that is not the firm for you. Um, just things to keep in mind when you're looking for an attorney.
That's good information. Definitely good information. Thank you so very much. So tell us, how can we reach out to you if we have some questions? You do practice in Florida, correct?
Correct?
Are you licensed in any other states at this time?
No, no, I'm not. I'm licensed in Florida. I'm licensed for the Florida Middle District for federal court, and then the general licensure that through the Florida bar.
Okay. Well, for those people that are in that area, tell us how to get in contact with you.
So we are currently located our office is currently located at 4875 North Wickham Road, Suite 105 in Melbourne, Florida. Our telephone number is 321-294-8769. And our email address is Newman and Simpson Law Group LLC at gmail.com.
Well, Attorney Simpson, thank you again for being with us today. And we hope that we continue to see you in our Facebook group and or on our Instagram. Thank you so much for being with us today. And as a gift, we are giving all of our small businesses that are a part of our 1 year celebration, our 7 ingredient business diet journal, helping you build better business habits. So I hope that we know you're a very successful business, but I hope that you are able to find some nuggets in here that help you stay motivated within your practice and within life, because it does incorporate all of this. Thank you so very much, and we'll see you in the group.
Thank you.
So tell us, how can we reach out to you if we have some questions? You do practice in Florida, correct?
Correct.
Are you licensed in any other states at this time?
No, no, I'm not. I'm licensed in Florida. I'm licensed for the Florida Middle District for federal court, and then the general licensure that through the Florida bar.
Okay. Well, for those people that are in that area, tell us how to get in contact with you.
So we are currently located Our office is currently located at 4875 North Wickham Road, Suite 105 in Melbourne, Florida. Our telephone number is 321-294-8769. And our email address is Newman and Simpson Law Group LLC at gmail.com. And you can use any of those mechanisms to contact us.
All right. Well, thank you again. I am again so happy that you joined us today. During that first call, you gave us a lot of good nuggets about specifics that we needed to do to start a business, and those are really helpful and really a foundation for what we did in the meetups all in 2020. So again, I thank you so very much for always supporting Small Business Diet Plan, for giving great information, and I wish you much success in Newman and Simpson's attorney firm.
Thank you.